What if life were a book, where each chapter only reveals itself when we find the courage to close the previous one? Perhaps you've felt it before. That silent presence that announces the end of something, even when your heart still wants to stay. A friendship, a love, a job, a place. Everything that once nourished us may one day need to move on. And it's in the silence of that crossing that the soul learns how to renew itself. In spirituality, we learn that everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Nothing is fixed. Impermanence, as taught by Buddha, is not a threat but a reminder that life is movement, and that clinging too tightly can trap the natural flow of existence. Lao Tzu would say that the river doesn't argue with the rock. It simply flows around it and continues on. Today, we'll talk about the art of saying goodbye as an act of self-love and awakening of consciousness. Not a painful ending, but the opening of a new fertile space within us. And just as every beginning holds the seed of its own ending, we must look at life cycles with the same reverence we give to the sunrise and sunset. Life reveals itself as a dance between beginnings and farewells, a subtle choreography in which every step leads us into a new rhythm. From the moment we take our first breath, we are immersed in the ceaseless movement of cycles. The seasons teach us. No spring tries to last forever. No winter apologizes for arriving. In awakening consciousness, understanding this truth is liberating. Buddha spoke of impermanence as the central truth of existence. Everything changes, and that change is proof that we are alive. Yet, so often, we resist. We try to hold tightly to what has given us safety, comfort, or joy. It's natural. The soul grows attached to what has nourished it. But, just as fruit left too long on the branch loses its freshness, excessive attachment can steal our vitality. Carl Jung reminded us that the process of individuation requires a series of symbolic deaths, leaving behind personas, patterns, and stories that no longer represent who we are. Every ending is, in truth, an invisible opening for something new that is beginning to sprout. Imagine life as a book. We cannot reach the next chapter if we refuse to turn the page. Self-knowledge teaches us that the meaning of life is not in freezing moments, but in inhabiting them fully, and letting them go when the flow calls us forward. Not all pain is punishment. Some pains are invitations to cross the bridge between who we were and who we can become. And perhaps true wisdom lies in accepting that every cycle is perfect for the time it lasts. No more, no less. In this way, we learn to celebrate what has come and honor what departs, knowing that life never takes away without first offering a new beginning. But understanding the cycles is only the first step. What truly frees us is the courage to let go, to open our hands, and allow life to follow its course. Letting go does not mean abandoning with coldness, but releasing with reverence. It is looking at something or someone that has been important to us and saying, "I thank you. Now, you may go." In spirituality, detachment is not a denial of importance, but a recognition that everything has a time to bloom and a time to depart. Osho compared true love to the wind. You can feel it against your skin, but you cannot trap it in a jar. This is the invitation of inner silence, to understand that control is an illusion, and freedom is born when we accept that nothing and no one belongs to us. Practicing detachment is a daily lesson in presence. It means living the moment deeply, knowing it is transient. Lao Tzu, in the Tao Te Ching, speaks of the softness of water, which does not resist movement, yet never loses its essence. This is the spirit of detachment, to remain who we are, even when the forms around us change. In personal growth, detachment translates into the courage to start again, to trade certainties for possibilities. In contemplation, it's the understanding that letting go is also receiving. For when we open our hands to release what has fulfilled its role, we create space for the soul to welcome new experiences, relationships, and learnings. Letting go is trusting that life has a time for everything, even for what we cannot yet understand. And here's the secret. Detachment is not loss. It's inner transformation. It's like a river that stops holding its waters so they may reach the sea. In this flow, we discover that true security lies in trusting the greater movement that guides us. And still, even when we let go with love, the heart feels it. It's then that we encounter a silent teacher, pain. There are pains that scream and others that whisper. Some arrive abruptly, like storms. Others settle in slowly, like cold seeping through the cracks. On the spiritual path, we learn that not all pain is punishment. Many are teachers. When something or someone departs, it's natural to feel grief. And grief is not only the pain of absence, but also the silence of the space that opens. In contemplation, we see that this fertile emptiness can be a portal. Eckhart Tolle teaches that suffering is often resistance to what is, and that by accepting it, we give space for pain to fulfill its transformative role. Rumi said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." This is perhaps one of the hardest and, at the same time, most liberating truths. By welcoming our pain without trying to rush its departure, we recognize it as part of our emotional healing. The practice is simple yet profound. To sit in inner silence, close your eyes, and allow the pain to be felt. Not analyzed, not denied, simply felt. In doing so, we realize that suffering does not define us. It merely passes through us, leaving marks that can become scars of wisdom. All healing begins with the acceptance of what hurts. Thus, pain ceases to be an enemy and becomes an ally in the awakening of consciousness. It shows us where we still need to release, to forgive, or simply to grow. And when we are ready, it dissolves, not because we forced it away, but because we have learned what it came to teach. When pain has fulfilled its role, it leaves us more whole, ready to choose who we wish to become. To get where you want to go, you must leave behind who you are today. This does not mean denying your story, but recognizing that each stage requires a new you. The snake does not lose its essence when it sheds its skin. It simply becomes more suited for the next cycle. Self-knowledge invites us to identify the layers that no longer serve us, limiting beliefs, habits that weaken our presence, old narratives we repeat as truths. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This takes courage, the courage to look inward and see what must be released. On the path of spiritual awakening, this transition is inevitable. The ego, accustomed to keeping us in safe territory, resists change. But it is precisely by passing through this resistance that we find inner freedom. The inner path is made of daily choices, saying no to what no longer resonates, saying yes to what challenges and expands us. And it is in this process that the version of ourselves capable of sustaining our dreams and our spiritual truth is born. Like the vessel that is only useful because of its empty space, we must empty the old identity to become receptacles for the new. Each step, even an uncertain one, becomes a seed of a life more aligned with our soul. And as we cross this bridge of transformation, we reach a sacred territory, the silent moment when the new begins to be born. The end of something opens a sacred space, the interval between what has left and what has not yet arrived. It is in this suspended space that rebirth begins to weave itself, often invisibly. In contemplative spirituality, we learn that fertile emptiness is not absence, but a womb where new possibilities germinate. It is a moment of reconnection with our essence, of listening to the soul, of returning to inner silence. Lao Tzu spoke of the usefulness of the empty space within a vessel. It is precisely the absence that allows it to serve its purpose. Rebirth is not noisy. It does not announce a date or time. It happens when, in the midst of apparent nothingness, a new presence begins to form within us. It may be an insight, a newfound courage, a peace that no longer depends on external circumstances. In personal growth, this period is precious. It is when we consolidate the inner transformation that began with detachment and pain. It is the moment when spiritual truth begins to blossom as a living presence. Emptiness is not absence. It is the womb of the unseen. Thus, to be reborn is more than to start again. It is to return to life with a new perception of oneself and the world. It is to walk the same path but with new eyes, to breathe the same air but with renewed gratitude. It is, in the end, to see that the goodbye was not an ending, but the announcement of a deeper way of existing. Saying goodbye is, at its core, an act of love for our own journey. It is telling life, I trust you more than my own certainties. Perhaps the question that remains is, and what if what you fear losing is, in truth, the doorway to the person you've always dreamed of becoming? Tonight, as the day ends, close your eyes. Inhale deeply and imagine yourself at the top of a mountain at sunset. In your hand, there is a small object that represents something you need to release. Gently, let it go into the wind. Watch it disappear into the horizon, and feel your heart open space for what is to come. If something inside you has calmed or awakened upon hearing these words, allow yourself to continue. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to walk with us on this road of fertile silence, discovery, and reconnection. Share your experience in the comments. Your story may also be a seed of healing for other hearts. And to keep expanding this field of presence, we suggest the video in the card. May it be a gentle breath on your journey. Peace and light.